A house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make a home. Welcome to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, helping you make your home into one you'll love even more. On News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hailey, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, Dan.
Let's talk about pickles.
Yeah,
we don't have time to tell
them.
you what's coming up on the show. Just believe it's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
right?
we got to get to this because it's gold. Pickles are magic.
I stumbled into an article about pickle juice and all the things that it will do for us, and I was astounded. I came running into work to tell Hailey about it, and then calmer minds made us search more reputable websites to make sure that everything I was reading was accurate.
Yes, because it was health-related information.
Right, and we didn't want to be crazy and recommend something that would have negative health effects. So, of the 50 amazing things that pickle juice will do, we've got 4 that we're really comfortable with.
Yeah.
But they're still really good things. So let's start with probiotics. Pickle juice contains probiotics.
Yeah.
Why is that good, Hailey?
Those are like the microorganisms that
The good
we
ones.
want in our guts. You know, they help promote digestive health, which in turn promotes all kinds of other health in our bodies. It's a whole system, you know? It's all interconnected.
And it's found in other things like yogurt, sauerkraut, a couple things I can't pronounce.
Kimchi and miso.
Yeah, I don't even know what those are. But they're loaded with probiotics. So if you see one sitting around, it's good for you.
It's good
Just
stuff.
clean it up and suck it down. So when we eat pickles, though, it'll fill our little gut with all of these little probiotics, and it helps us right along the trail, right?
Yeah,
So that's one
exactly.
good thing right there. Cleveland Clinic is recommending this. That's the website that we're drawing from for this information, just for those who are playing along.
Probiotics are all the rage. I mean, you can pay a lot of money for probiotic capsules.
Oh, yeah.
And pickle juice, you've already got in your fridge.
Right. I actually bought some cranberry, whatever, probiotic drink. And I did not enjoy the flavor of that. I would much rather drink pickle juice.
Is it like a yogurty
It
drink?
was very vinegary.
Oh.
And the pickle juice, I know, has that in it, but it just has the dill overpowers the vinegar. So anyway, probiotics, that's a great way to get them. Another one is that, another surprising thing is that pickle juice helps us recover after exercising. And at first when I read this, I thought it was a fake one, you know.
Well, it sounds counterintuitive because we know it's so salty, and I would think at least that you wouldn't want so much salt after exercising. You want to hydrate yourself. You want to drink a bunch of water.
Right. But according to this article, the Cleveland Clinic, pickle juice contains electrolytes in the form of a lot of sodium and some potassium and magnesium, and it's a natural electrolyte. So when we drink it, it will actually reduce cramping, and there's tests that prove that. Not just suggest it, but prove it. So if you're big into exercise and you don't want to be spending all that money on sports drinks,
Right.
or whatever you get afterwards, my son does tons of that, bring a jar of pickles with you.
Yeah, no one's going to look at you funny at the gym.
Not at all. Not at all. You know, every time we talk about these pickle things, I got to take a quick segue. I think about the big vat of pickles. I've seen at a handful of like general store type places.
That's what I was just picturing. Like, you get the pickle, you're walking into the gym with it.
Yeah. Well, I've always been blown away because whenever I have seen those, I've never seen anybody buy a pickle out of the big jar that sits on the counter, but I've never seen tongs to get the pickle out. I'm always curious. And the guy at the counter always has like this permanently yellow stain on his arm up to his elbow.
Oh, stop.
So I'm assuming... Anyway, don't get your pickles there, probably. Buy them in a jar and munch them down. How about this one? Pickle juice may support weight loss. May support weight loss. I got to put may in there, but all signs seem to point to yes.
Yeah, that one, again, seems counterintuitive to me.
Well, it helps curb your appetite by stabilizing your blood sugar.
Is that something that vinegar does?
That's what the
it's
website
saying?
says. That's
Okay.
all I know, Hailey. Don't put me on the spot here. It just says it's easier to lose weight and control your appetite when your blood sugar's stable.
Well, I think maybe that would be good for me. I feel like I get grumpy when my blood sugar kind of dips. That's why, I've got to keep chocolate in the studio.
Really low, apparently, because Hailey spends most of the time grumpy.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I apologize. I don't want to deal with the ramifications of that. How about one more? Pickle juice contains disease-fighting antioxidants. Who doesn't like that? Again,
Yeah.
Cleveland Clinic recommending it. If you're not eating pickles, you're missing out. And if you're just pouring away the pickle juice, you're really wasting a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that's a total waste. You got to keep it in your fridge. I always do because I like cooking with it. But now this is just another excuse as to why I can tell Jordan not to throw that away.
Right. Think of all the good things. I'm going to be thin, happy. My digestive whatever is going to be clicking right along.
I'm not going to get grumpy because my blood sugar's dipping.
Pickle juice, there's a lot of sodium in it. You got to be careful about that. RepcoLite does not stand behind anything that Dan and Hailey just said regarding health, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be in the studio with Skip's Painting, talking about things related to painting. That's all just ahead. Stick around.
Helping you turn your house into your dream home. This is the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, presented by Benjamin Moore on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Hailey and I are in the studio with Dan Schipper from Skip's Painting. Dan, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Now, we want to dig into a number of different things, but I guess before we do all of that, you've been on the show before, but we'd still like you to introduce yourself, your company, I guess, to the listeners out there. And let's just start with, what do you do exactly? I mean, you do exterior work, new construction. What do you guys do?
Well, basically, we do it all, I guess, if you might say. Not too much of the new construction, but mostly the rework, redos. I've been in the company as far as Skip's Painting for 22 years.
All right.
I do have my son with us now. He's probably with us 4 years, going on 4 years. So, we just basically concentrate on customers that call us and say, hey, we want 2 bedrooms done or a bathroom done.
Interior residential
Yeah,
kind of work.
yeah. And then we do sometimes the exterior, but we are kind of fading out of that because we're just too small.
You're too small? I'm too small for a lot of exterior reach, too. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I'm short.
Is that what we're talking about? That's not where you were going, was it?
No, that's not where I was going.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. We can commiserate. Both of us need help getting stuff off the top shelf at Target, right? We
Yeah,
know
that's
what
right.
that feels
That's right.
like.
See, we always have a inside track with these tall guys. Hey, we don't need. They don't need step ladders. I always need a step ladder, and I have to be at the top.
I know.
So it's not fair.
We fit into a lot of places, though. We've got leg room all the time, no matter where we sit, right?
Yeah, there's a lot
That's
of advantages.
exactly right.
I
really.
like that part of it. I just don't buy anything off the top shelf.
Yeah.
Who needs that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, you mentioned that you're small, and I took that in a direction I didn't need to, but for me, I needed to. What you meant was crew size, right?
That's right.
It's just you and your son?
That's
Is
correct.
that how it is? Now, 22 years, you've been doing this, your son for 4. Did you start the business? How did it all get started for you?
Well, basically, back then, I was working for a good company called Steelcase.
All right.
Okay.
And that was a good company. But with the furniture industry going down, the economy was going down, and I got laid off.
Sure.
But then besides that, I was working always the second and third shift. And I really didn't like what I was doing,
Okay.
to be honest with you. Not that I was not making a good living, but basically it just my heart wasn't in it. And
How long had you been at Steelcase?
12 years.
12 years.
And then I was 6 years at Herman Miller. So,
All right.
Okay.
So furniture that just, after a while, not your thing.
Right.
You just, your heart's not in it.
It was always the idea of rewarding of what you do. Mm-hmm. And so I always had this on the side. I actually graduated from Holland Christian, and I went in the business with another fellow that I graduated with. Well, 2 years we landed up being together, and we kind of fizzled out. He went his separate ways, but I always kept it going. So I always did it on the side. And once some years went by, and I said, hey, this is this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
So
full
then
time.
the layoff happens and you decide to go full-time into the painting thing?
That's correct.
But you had been doing it
Yes,
through all
on
that
the
time.
side.
What kind of shift was that like?
That was
How'd your wife ride with that one?
that was always a tough one because, we sent our kids to Christian education.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was always an added thing to help pay for the tuition.
Yeah.
Right.
But, for time-wise, it wasn't a very good where you worked a second shift and then you worked 2 or 3 hours
Right.
the rest of that day.
Sure.
And then getting back to your normal shift of what I was doing. So when that all happened, it just made a big lift on hey, this is what I really wanted to do.
Well, I'm sure your attitude improves, though. If you're doing something that you're more passionate about and you're getting rewarded, seeing the transformations in a person's home, seeing how happy that space is going to make them afterwards and being a part of that process, I can imagine would be more rewarding.
Yeah, and that's exactly right because, when you get to work with real good people, good customers, and you see the results
Mm-hmm.
and you see that they're happy, and that was one of our main things, even doing it on the side,
Sure.
is that when I got laid off, I had 1 week of unemployment, and I
Wow,
said,
that's
this
it.
is enough. And I had more clientele call me in less than a week, and so we just took off.
Well, I guess that's what I was going to ask. How fast? That went fast.
It really went fast.
That doesn't always happen. 'Cause
No.
but you had that thing built up to some
Exactly,
extent
yeah.
through all those other
Yep.
years.
Yep. And that really has helped. And then, of course, at that time, a lot has been done at that time, referrals.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have a website, you have
Right.
a Facebook, you have, where people see you all over.
Who runs your Facebook? Do you do that?
My son, Nick, does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was tooling over that the other day, and I said, they look like they have a lot of fun. I mean, you got a couple of, you're all in this white Tyvek spray suit and stuff like that.
Yeah, we kind of make it.
You look really tall in those pictures,
yeah,
by the way.
I do.
too.
Really.
That's a good
And-
angle.
Yeah. Thanks.
A child took those photos.
Yeah, we enlarge.
joking.
We enlarge those,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that I can disguise who I really am
Yeah.
because everybody knows Skip.
Yeah.
He's short and bald and all that.
See, I didn't even say bald. But it's funny, though. Skip walked in, and I've been going on and on ad nauseum about my manly beard, my
Yes.
rugged manly beard. And Skip walks in, he says, "Wow, Dan, you look different." I said, "Why? What do you?" I forget.
Yes,
And then
that
he
you
says,
have
"Your
a beard."
beard, it's so gray."
Yeah, that's right.
I'm bald, you're gray. So for anybody
Well,
thinking
hey.
I was taking unfair attacks or swings
right.
at you, you deserved it. You walked
right.
in and threw at me. So
But I had the radar. I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
you figured out.
you
so.
had me pegged.
Yeah.
So lots of interesting stuff. We're in the studio with Dan Schipper from Skip's Painting. And I want to get to a couple of projects that you tackled or some things that you see in the houses and some products that you like to use. One quick other question yet. Your son, you said, joined you about 4 years ago.
Correct.
Do you guys have a plan moving forward? Is he taking over at some point? I mean,
Well-
you look like you could go for years and years yet. You got another 22 in you,
Oh,
for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's not really the reality, though. I'm hoping that he's ready. He's able. He has done real well with customers. We've been very busy, and where I have to leave him and I have to do my own job too. So, but the intent is, yes, for have him taken over. I know he always kids me all the time. He says, "Well, Dad, we got so much work. Can we hire?
Yeah, why don't you hire? Hailey's
well,
looking.
Haley's looking. Okay.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, you need
blowing
something
this
you can
popsicle
enjoy,
stand.
right?
Yeah. The really thing that strikes me with our niche, as you might say, is it takes time to train people, and you got to have good help where it's dependable and for training. So basically, if we do hire, he's going to be the one that's going to be training,
Yeah.
Right.
because that's going to be his future. So I always wanted to keep it small because you just,
Probably
you don't
easier
have to
to manage. Yeah.
worry about the other employees and so forth. I mean, hey, half the time you're worrying enough. How am I going to keep one busy? You know.
No, that makes sense. And the training thing is tough. I know every time, we cycle through people from time to time, we generally have people that are on staff at RepcoLite for ages. That's been a great thing. And I'm sure you've run into that over the years, Dan, because you've shopped with us for a lot of your 22 years, right?
And some with doing it on my side. I mean, I can remember going in the Holland store on 17th. That was, and then, of course, Lakeshore and all this new stores. And patronizing all the RepcoLites, which, tells me that when I can go and get my paint and get it pretty much immediately, that's my niche, because I have to get right to work. The customer wants it done, and when I get the best service, that's where I want to go.
Makes your life a little easier.
Well, and that's what we're always shooting for. But, people do move through, and you get new people in, and training starts, and you try to keep everybody learning. There's so much to learn. There's so many different things. We think we're doing all right with that.
Yep,
I know you mentioned on the phone to us that you have great experiences at, which is your main store? Is it Jennison?
Jennison is.
Yeah. And
I got good rapport with the employees there. I mean, we had certain people retire already, and when you get the new people, and it just camaraderie has been really neat.
It's really fun.
We walk in there and they know, hey, here's come Skips, And we have an inside kind of joke, and the thing is they call me the boss.
What do they call me? Do you know?
I don't know if
I was hoping it was that. Well, shoot. It
So,
seems that one's taken. No, that's always fun. And you mentioned, let's get into some of the projects that you tackled, because one of the things when you sat down before we started this whole interview, you mentioned you do a lot of inside, a lot of redos and stuff like that, and you see everything.
Yep. Right.
What does everything entail? Because everything in my mind is pretty amazing.
Well,
is it as amazing as I'm thinking?
It is. Well, it is. It is amazing because, you got to tackle something that you got to make it look professionally done.
Right.
Just like this morning, I had to take a look at a job, and they had water leaks. And in the corner of the walls, you got ripple effects. So you got kind of the unknown. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into. So you got to cut it all out and then re-caulk it, re-tape it, and re-mud it. And so some of those things you're always running into. We run into bathrooms that have mold, and you wonder how the customer's been living that for that long a period of time.
Well, I think we get house blind a little bit to those problems, or we don't want to
Or
address
they don't
them,
want-
right?
right,
It's
I
just
just
too scary.
close my eyes a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a lot of bumps on my head, but I don't see the problems.
You kind of say, well, we'll push that on the back burner, as you might say.
Yeah, exactly.
You got animals that you got.
Sure.
We have cat hair. We got dog hair. I mean, you don't want to get down on your knees and start doing the base trim, and you got hair on your brush. So there's a lot of things that you kind of get.
Environmental factors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we are hitting the end of this segment, Dan. I'm wondering if you can just hang with us over the break. We're going to play some commercials, and then we're going to come back because the dog hair thing, I'm not done with that one yet. Can you hang with us over the break?
Sure, I can. Yeah.
All right, we'll be back in just a minute with Dan Schipper from Skip's Painting. Stick around.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back in the studio with Dan Schipper from Skip's Painting. Dan.
That's correct.
Thanks for being here. Hailey.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here,
Oh,
too.
yeah, you're welcome, Dan.
And Dan, thanks for being here. You're welcome, Dan. I'm pleased to be here. Nobody ever thanks me for being here.
Well,
We're going to have to do that from time to time. You can just
I'm
thank
gonna
me.
thank you.
Well, I would think so.
Okay.
That seems appropriate,
sure.
don't you think, Dan?
I think that's very appropriate.
Exactly.
Thanks for being here, Dan.
You're welcome, Hailey. Let's just get to Dan, though. Quit interrupting.
Okay, which Dan?
Exactly.
Yeah, that is confusing.
Exactly.
Haley said that she wished your name was Skip because
Okay.
there's
There's too many
too many
Dans.
Dans. Now, at the end of last segment, you were talking about some of the projects that you see, some of the things that you encounter in homes, mold, mildew, and we want to get to that and some of the other
Correct.
issues that you run into painting a bathroom, because we've got a great solution to that you like to use a lot. But before we get to that, you mentioned sometimes you run into dog hair all over the place.
That's correct.
On the ground. And
Yes.
what do you do when you run into that? Because somebody I know who's very close to me has a dog. It's me. And I dropped something on the floor the other day, and I think I'm fastidious with my cleaning. And I had wet hands. I was doing dishes, and I dropped something, and I picked it up off the rug, and I looked like a Wookiee when I came up with my hands from Star Wars, Haley.
Yeah, I got it.
Completely covered with fur. So if I ever have to repaint, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. What do you do when you're dealing with that?
Well, first we basically give a hint to the customer that we have to vacuum all the woodwork, please. No, normally we would tackle that ourselves.
Yep.
We would have to do all that cleaning before, and that's part of the prep. But it is kind of the unknown. I mean,
How do you feel, to interrupt because it's my way, how do you feel about homeowners doing that ahead of time? If they're calling you out to come out and do some painting, that kind of prep work, I don't think you would probably mind, right?
No,
If they did all of that really
Yeah.
deep down cleaning, looking for things like dog fur. So if you've got an animal, that is a concern, right?
It
'Cause
is very much so.
That probably
Yeah.
does reflect on the bill, I would assume, right? Because that's time you spend.
Yeah, it is. We have to take that in consideration. Yes.
All right. So there we go. There's some prep work. You probably, we've had some other painters on, Dean Veltman, right, from Veltman Painting. He was talking about how he'd prefer people don't do a lot of the prep work, right? People, I know we've had customers want to save some money by doing prep work.
Sure.
Is that where you're at too? You prefer
Yeah, well, not necessarily there. I mean, with issues like that,
Like the
that's
cleaning?
something they can do, and we might even have to do more. But
Right.
for someone to say, Dan, we got holes here, I'll patch those for you. I kind of say, we take the responsibility. It's our workmanship, and we want it looking the way we want it.
Yeah,
for you.
there's a level of craftsmanship with some of
Yeah.
that stuff that I don't know that most homeowners are ready for.
Well,
So-
and yeah, like you're saying too, Dan, you want it to look good and you want to base that appearance on everything you put into it to make sure it
Exactly.
looks good. You
Yeah.
don't want to be hampered by my less than stellar workmanship. I do a good job on a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's not one of them?
Well, no, I was just thinking about, because he's mentioning holes in the wall, and I'm thinking about how this weekend, Dan, I bought a number of different pictures, a couple of big
so
things.
you're
that
gonna
I was-
be nailing-
Well, no, I already did. And I told Haley, I came in on Monday and I said, we got to do a segment on picture hanging, because it looks like a mafia hit happened in my living room.
Wow.
It looks like
So
bullet
many
holes
holes.
everywhere. Yeah, I couldn't get it right. So anyway, you would have to patch those, and I would be really embarrassed for you to see what I was doing.
Well, I'd be
attempts there were.
gladly to come over and take care of them and know that it's been done well.
I know. All right, so let's talk about the bathroom, because you mentioned mold, mildew, things like that. I know in previous conversations you and I have had that bathrooms are wonky. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can happen, and you've landed on a paint that you really like to use, and it's Aura Bath and Spa from
That's
Benjamin
correct.
Moore. What do you like about it? Try to sell it to our listeners, because sometimes when Haley and I brag up a topic or a product, it feels infomercially. You really work with it. You see the pros, you see the cons. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, I mean, for the longest time in bathrooms, you have the showers, of course, and with moisture, the lines show up.
Yeah, you get the
we
steam
have
runs.
numerous jobs where, you got lines, you got moisture showing on the surface, and yeah, you do have to do a little bit of prep work.
Sure.
But with Benjamin Moore Bath and Spa, it's a matte finish. It hides. It does cover well, but we always say to our customers, we always like to do 2 coats.
Sure.
So the important thing is in the bathroom and with bath and spa is you got to let it cure. Okay,
Sure.
so there is a few hours or so, or even days, that you want to at least eliminate showers and stuff like that. But what we find out is for coverage wise and taking away the moisture look of what other paints when you're using shows up on the walls, and then we even use it too on the ceilings. So
makes
I
sense.
mean, you're getting the double force of protection of mildew, moisture, and it's washable. And
Right. It's a matte finish,
it's a
but
matte.
still washable.
Yeah.
Normally, we'd end
I
up
think
putting
people are surprised to hear that sometimes. They have the idea they've got to have a semi-gloss
Right,
or a satin on the wall,
Yeah.
and it's really not true. I mean, this product's been specifically designed to be in that matte finish and still be really washable and resist all of that moisture building up on the walls, like you were
Correct.
saying.
Yeah.
And then, like Dan also pointed out, is it hides so much, and in the sense of a semi-gloss or a satin sheen, the shinier
you don't
go,
see the blemishes,
right, all of
Right.
that.
and stuff, and yet it presents itself so nicely with all the different colors you can. So yeah, we really enjoy using that product.
But it's expensive, Dan, or at least it's a little more on the expensive
Yeah.
side of things.
Well, and that's basically too when we address it with a customer, we say, well, we've been using this product probably the last 5-6 years, and what we normally do, or what I normally do, is I do follow-ups. And when I do follow-ups on bathrooms, and when I get the customer to tell me, hey, our problem's been solved, then that goes a long ways for me to say,
Very cool.
yeah, we might be using this product. It costs a little bit more, but in the longevity, you're getting a good product that you're going to be satisfied in the long run.
Yeah, the value's there. It's
Value, yeah.
an investment at that point.
Now, one other product, Dan, that you mentioned, we're talking with Dan Schipper from Skip's Painting. Another product that you really liked is Scuff-X. We've talked about it a ton. Where do you get the most bang for your buck out of that one?
Oh yeah, we get when that first came out, we do commercial, and we used it on commercial. But when our residential, we really pushed Scuff-X on residential, and we use a lot of the matte again.
Yeah.
The eggshell is a little bit more of a sheen to it, but I'll tell you what, for durability and hard drying paint, it takes a lot of abuse. And so when you have homes that we have to deal with, that you have high traffic areas, it just does wonders when the customer says, hey, I can wipe this and clean it, and it looks just like new.
Right.
So we've been using that right along. And there again, it is a little more expensive, but you're getting what you pay for in a good product. And, that's the thing that's been running a little difficulty for the stores at RepcoLite is to keeping Scuff-X in stock.
Yeah, so many people have caught on to that product, I think.
Well, and with all the
With the
natural
supply,
shortages
yeah.
going on, that's been a struggle. And yeah, it's like gold.
It is.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what we normally, and when you're competing with customers or with contractors and especially bigger ones, they're taking all the
Sure.
fives, and I just probably need 2 singles,
I know.
So there's been some difficulty, but there again, I mean, the stores have been really good. The RepcoLite Jenison store, they'll call the Byron Center or call the Holland store.
And that's what we've been doing. That's how we've handled a lot of this. We've done a really
Right.
good job company-wide.
Of
It's
keeping things in stock as
Yeah.
much as
Yeah.
possible.
right. And it's been such a complicated time for companies everywhere. All paint companies have been
Right.
struggling, and we've done really well.
Yeah.
And it's just because everybody's worked so hard
Yeah.
to try to find those
Yeah,
things.
it's a team
And
effort.
No, it takes a complete, and that's kind of the good thing about it because you feel part of the team.
Yeah, well, you're the boss. Dan.
I'm the boss. Yeah.
Anyway,
My daughter, and they kind of put a little. I've had new shirts made, and one of the shirts on the back said the boss.
There we go. Perfect.
I had to wear that in the store one day, and everybody just had a little chuckle there. So,
well, I'm going to get a shirt like that and a
what's yours
chair
gonna
with
say?
that stamped on the back and
you're taking care of for
a hat. I'm going to get a lot. No, it's all for me.
Oh, it's all for you.
Oh, my goodness. It's not for her.
He needs a
For
director's
me.
chair.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Dan Schipper from Skip's Painting. If our listeners do want to reach out to you, Dan, how's the best way they can get in touch?
Well, the best way personally, and I always return the calls if I don't answer it, but my phone number is 481-5476. You can also see us on our website, at skipspaintingmi.com and our Skips Painting LLC Facebook.
All right.
Perfect.
Awesome. We'll put all of that in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out. Get Dan out to the house. He can talk about your dog hair on the ground, patch those holes, make your bathroom look great. All of that.
All the above, right?
Just, we need a ladder for the tall stuff.
I do
right,
need
Dan?
a ladder for the tall.
I had to one more time. Anyway, Dan, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, time for a break, and when we come back, we're talking about a paint project that Hailey tackled. That's all just ahead. Stick around.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Hailey, we're going to talk about a project that you tackled at home.
Yeah.
And this kind of does double duty. You would tell me about this stuff. You know, you come in after a weekend and you're on and on and on
Right,
about
that's
what
me.
technically is your stuff. And that's not what I want to hear about because I want to talk about my stuff. So you started about this project and this painting that you did, and I said, wait, why don't we just do this on the show?
Yeah.
And you thought it was brilliant.
Because this is super relevant.
It is, but I do have to confess, it was just my way to shut you up so we could get to the good stuff in our
So now
conversation.
you're going to make everyone else listen. It's fine when it's on the air.
Well, like I said, it's double duty. I'm joking. That's not exactly what happened.
No, it's the complete opposite.
It is-
Typically.
well, in real life.
Yeah.
You come in and I'm clamoring to speak, aren't
Yes.
I? And you're not a morning person.
Nope.
I really
And
try.
I've just got to sit
I
here
know.
and take it.
I know. I just go on, and my brain is going, hey, shut up. Just give her a minute. Give her a minute. No. She's agreeing. She's in it. She knows. Yeah. I'm sorry. But anyway.
But here's my story.
We got to get to your story.
Yeah.
It's a project you have been talking about, and we've used it for multiple segments. You have a dining room that you put some wallpaper
Right.
up.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Had white walls, and you thought you were going to love the white, and when you saw it with the dark paper, you realized you
It
want to
just
do
looked-
something.
Yeah, like I didn't commit fully, or I don't know. It just like cheapened the space in some way.
Well, I think that's really interesting. There's so many different things to talk about in regards to this. That's one of them. You know, you're saying that you thought it cheapened the space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw it when we had your housewarming, open
you
house.
always wanna say
I know. I struggle with language. But your housewarming, and it looked great. You know, you walk through, everybody walks through, we see the wallpaper, we see the white walls, it looks great. Old trim, you know, you
Right.
got great big baseboards, a lot of natural, you know, the wood in there, the original wood, it's beautiful. And then you brought in pictures this past weekend after you've painted the walls now,
Right.
and what you've got now is so far above what you had. I never would have realized.
Well, right.
The difference.
Exactly. Because it's not like it looked terrible.
No.
You know, and I think we were talking about this wall when we were discussing like listening to the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to what it's telling you so that you can
Explain that a minute, because the people who didn't catch
Right,
that, there's like
yeah.
a few that don't listen every week. Can you believe that? What is wrong with, you know, I guess they've got
don't
other
know.
things, but talk about that. Listening to the house, what does that mean?
Well, I think it just means taking into account all the things that are there. You know, this room has got large beams. You know, it's got like the coffered ceiling, I think it's called. So it's got like the squared off beams and, like we said, the super high baseboards. And it's all dark wood and it doesn't have a ton of natural light. And the white walls, I think we're there because I had this idea that, okay, it's going to fill the space with light still that isn't there. And really it was fighting the fact that this is just a dark, cozy space, and I'm trying to push in a direction it's not really meant to go.
It leans towards being dark and cozy, and the white, it just didn't work. And now you don't realize that.
Right.
And that's, I don't know what to make of that, because I don't want to paint everything in my house in order to find out if what I had was working.
Right.
Because yours looked good. But when you've got this new color, now the room is really what it was meant to be.
Yes, it
And
feels finished now.
It's so amazing because the woodwork even, I think it almost seems counterintuitive because that dark woodwork, I would have thought if you would have presented me the two options and described them, a darker green, because that's what you went to on the walls. Is it a green?
It's like a really dark navy that's got a hint of green in it. There's a green undertone.
It's hard to see. I work with color. I can tell that's what you're thinking.
Throw you down.
Yeah, so thank you. Anyway, the darker color, I would have thought, isn't going to really make that woodwork pop. It's not going to do it justice. The white would at least really give it that contrast and let it stand out.
Right.
Instead, I would completely say it went the opposite of where I thought. The darker color on the wall makes the woodwork stand out. Everything looks brilliant. It looks like a photo shoot, whereas before, now, in retrospect, the previous looks just like,
just
homemade.
Okay. Yeah.
Homemade, Hailey. That's what I said. Live with it. I mean that in the nicest possible way. A lot of stuff is great when it's homemade. Pies, pickles, sometimes. Anyway, talk about getting to this color. How did you choose it? Basically because you had the wallpaper on the other wall.
I had the wallpaper on the one wall, and that was an accent wall, and I ended up sort of matching the background color of that wallpaper and ended up with this really dark blue with a little bit of green undertone. And I was a little nervous painting the white walls this dark blue.
Because that's the other part of this conversation. The first part is just understanding that the right color is going to do
it makes
wonders
a big difference
for a space. It's definitely worth working towards getting that right color. We've got color consultants who will help, blah, 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 all of that. The second part is the product, because painting a dark color over white is complicated.
It seems like people have the idea that dark colors are easily going to cover because they're dark. That's just the way that we think of them in our heads. But really, anytime you've got a really large color difference, which I did, I was going from white to something that was really dark, huge color difference, you're always going to, well, not always, but a lot of times you can have a situation where you need more than a couple coats of paint because it's just not going to hide immediately.
Completely counterintuitive. It's not what we expect. I did that in a living room, even working with paint. I had it in my head that it was going to be okay. I had a darker brown. On about the fourth coat, I decided forget it, and I went back to the original color. So you're going to an even bigger shift at that point. And that's where Aura from Benjamin Moore, usually that would be the one you'd go to.
Right.
Because that's what it's designed to do. Cover in 2 coats. Pretty much over every other color. There's a few little caveats, but that's its claim to fame, and it works really well.
Yeah, and it's super durable, and it's got all these things, right? It's got color lock technology, but we also have this product at RepcoLite that's new, and it's called OPTIMA, and I haven't really had a chance to work with it. So I thought, well, this is a good opportunity because OPTIMA is like Aura in that it's really meant to be super high hiding.
And we've talked about it in the past, and we had Dan Altina, the president of the company here, and he claimed it's probably the best paint anybody can make. The technology involved,
right? You
can't really beat it. And we heard that, we said it, we talked about it, we believe it, because we've heard great things, but now you've used it and you were blown away, literally.
I really was. I put 1 coat on the wall and it basically hit. I mean, there was points where I could see, the brushwork a little bit, and I'll go back and touch it up. And I always recommend doing 2 coats regardless, just to get the best durability. But literally the color covered in 1 coat.
It's really something. When you see the photos... And we'll put those, can we put those in the show notes?
Yeah, we should.
All right.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, this is not ever something that I would normally...
You wouldn't expect it to happen like that at all. And it worked so well. And
really
you came in all excited, wanted to talk about it. The really cool thing is that it prices out so much less than Aura.
Right.
Aura's great, and there's a lot of good that it will do in certain situations, but Optima is definitely something to check out. You can get it at any RepcoLite or Port City Paints. It's Hailey approved.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. That's all the time we've got. We're going to have to wrap this one up, Hailey. If you want to catch it again online, you can find it at RepcoLite.com. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and you'll never miss another episode. Whatever you do today, make sure paint's a part of it. The RepcoLite and Port City paint stores are open until 3, waiting to help. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Hailey Johnston. Thanks for listening.